Okay, I wanted to make a quick video with a problem I was having with a ECT sensor. This particular sensor here. I purchased this sensor from O'Reilly's Auto Parts last year, and I've been having some problems with the cooling fans not coming on, but I also needed to put in a new thermostat as well. But I noticed something was still wrong even after I changed the thermostat. And I tested the connector for this sensor, and I was getting 5 volts. I checked the resistance. That was good with the connector. But then when I would test this connector, I would get good readings from it. But then every now and then I noticed that the numbers would bounce around. And so what happened was the car just it really wouldn't start. Couldn't really get it to turn over and to run for a long period of time. So when I disconnected the connector from the sensor, I would get the cooling fans. The cooling fans would run. So I thought, okay, so maybe the sensor is bad. So I took the sensor out, and I got a new sensor from AC Delco, which was an original equipment manufacturer sensor. This one, I don't remember what the brand was, but when I compare the two, I have the AC Delco in the car now, and the car is running good. I noticed that the inside of the sensor was a lot smaller. And what I could never really get the connector to do was to totally connect over top of this rib here. I would push down on it, and it would kind of go over, but it wouldn't click. It never clicked. When I put the new sensor in that came in today, and I got it in the car, and I went and put the connector over it, it immediately went click. It clicked on. So what I think was happening was I was getting 5 volts from the connector. This one was reading good, but I think overall what was happening is that they weren't making a connection. And that's why every time I disconnected the connector, the fans would come on. So the other thing I noticed was that the opening inside of there was a lot smaller than the opening in the AC Delco part that I received today. So, in hindsight, I look at it, I'm looking at this and I'm going, I did not totally see that when I first put this in. And I really didn't compare that. It just looked like the sensor that I was taking out. I'm assuming that O'Reilly's Auto Part gave me the correct sensor. It was identical. But I don't think this particular sensor is made well, because the inside is a lot smaller. And I think when I went to put the connector in, I think that it wasn't totally going down inside of there. And so it was making kind of it was making a little contact, but not the contact that it should have made for it to operate. So technically the sensor would end up being faulty, even though the resistance is registering well. I tested it both with cold as well as hot, and it registered well. But this particular pin over here, the top pin, something's going on over there, because when I put the needle on that pin from the multimeter, it sometimes it settles down, other times it just bounces all over the place.